Hi there, this is Georgie Bevan, the Professional Learning Lead for STEM and the wider curriculum, and I'm going to talk through the distance learning Key Stage 3 model that we've drawn up alongside the other consortia in terms of supporting schools in the current climate. As you can see, this is a Key Stage 3 model for years 7, 8 and 9, and it's based on a thematic or a big question approach. Within our model, there's 4 components, the main one being well-being at the centre, obviously because all of the guidance and the research at the moment is saying that well-being of all stakeholders is paramount in any decisions that we're making as schools. We're also talking about the opportunity to collaborate and connect with peers and stakeholders and teachers, opportunity for other learning opportunities or creative opportunities, as well as ways to continue building on the learning that was happening in schools prior to the crisis. So if we go through the rationale behind the model, the overarching aim of this model was to engage learners through either a thematic or big question approach. Again, the research tells us that if you use one of these approaches, it can explore high-level concepts and transfer questions that could encourage an interdisciplinary approach. It would also be a nice starting point in preparation for the new curriculum for Wales with the new AOLEs. So again, stuff that your practitioners develop now could be something you build on when returning back to school. The approach here is it ideally would help practitioners identify and facilitate connections between different subject areas, but it could just be done thematically within a faculty or a department or one big question, or collectively it could also be done across a whole school. The idea behind it is that it could enable one point of contact for a learner, whether that be a form tutor or a support specialist or a subject specialist. And again, they could work collaboratively with the learner to establish the evidence they produce and monitor the way that the individual learners are managing home life and academic pressures, as well as maintaining their own well-being. The flexibility of this model allows learners to work at a time that meets with their family life and personal commitments. We're all very conscious that households may be limited in the devices they have access to, or the timelines that learners are now following, the times they might be getting up. And alongside that, we've also built into this model the need for schools to establish with practitioners when they're contactable, potentially a timetable of when they'll be available for work, because we don't want to be on call 24/7, and your practitioners need to have their own flexibility to meet with their own needs. As well as the flexibility of the timing of the model, there is also the opportunity to benefit from both synchronous and asynchronous learning opportunities. It enables a choice of elements that a learner could use in the digital different platforms. It also enables the opportunity to use a range of different tasks through a variety of mediums when you're developing your learning blocks. That said, please remember that all learners in Wales have a hub access account, and therefore in terms of equity, they're eligible to access any of those free resources, which means that they can access everything that's available to all learners within Wales. Within the model, we've also acknowledged that core subjects would require revisiting. In terms of the timeline for this is completely within a school's discretion and what works best for your school and your context. But we would advise that core subjects are used to regularly revisit some of those key skills that children need. The research tells us that we should not be trying to teach something new or learn a new concept at this moment in time, but use this time to build on prior knowledge and issue tasks or resources that enable knowledge retrieval. Research also tells us that if you do go this route, this again will accelerate the learning when our learners return back to school. So I think if this is something you would consider as a school, please feel free to contact some of the subject specialist advisors. We've also drawn up subject specialist guidance around some of this research, which is available on the Google Drive that we've shared. Within this model, a school could decide upon a minimum expectation of number of tasks that a learner can complete in a specific period of time. That could be a week, it could be a fortnight. Again, that's completely at the discretion of the school. But please remember, the learning time commitment should not mirror that of a normal school day in this current crisis. One of the other things that this model enables through a big question approach or thematic approach is the opportunity to develop literacy and numeracy skills in context. So when practitioners might be developing a block of learning or resource that might be fitting with this theory, they could use this time to identify those literacy and numeracy skills that could be used when learners return back to school. Again, further evidence of the skill development that your learners are having in other subjects. This model enables the use of digital tools through the Hub network as well as other digital platforms. Through that, you can provide ongoing encouragement and collaboration opportunities and relevant feedback which supports learning. It's not just about issuing work. This is an opportunity to build a block of learning that uses various mediums and various different types of learning. And the researchers said that's the best way to engage your learners in this time. Furthermore, we also feel that the opportunity for learners themselves to use these different platforms, to share their work, to develop their work, is a wonderful opportunity, and again would be something a school could embrace when working with their learners to develop their digital skills. In terms of the model, we've tried to pop it into a table here for you all to see how it fits together. So the collaborations and connections section is really about the learner well-being and how that's being monitored and supported through different mediums. And this is the school's choice. This is obviously completely up to the school, and you will have already established these protocols. One option is that you could be sharing well-being messages or collective worship opportunities, either through videos or tasks, which would enable learners to engage. But it's all about building on those already well-established positive relationships that practitioners would have with their learners. Through ongoing contact, they could also support learners to ensure that they're managing their workload as well as maintaining engagement with their learning. The opportunity for the continuity of learning would give practitioners the opportunity to work collaboratively to develop interactive, engaging resources through a thematic or big question approach. Again, this can be done within department, across faculties, or across a whole school. And again, it would be a nice way to support non-core skill development. As already said, if you do go this route, you could also give additional time to the look of developing literacy and numeracy skills within these thematic approaches or big question approaches. But the core subject guidance would be to spend this time building on those pertinent skills, those skills that we need regularly revisiting and that need to help learners be able to recall them as time goes on. Learners could also use the opportunity to collaborate through the Hub tools and receive that formative feedback from practitioners. And again, this would be up to a school to decide this school model and how frequently they would expect their practitioners to be feeding back and what the product of this feedback should look like. The last section is a selection of just real life skills that actually most children or learners would be engaging in at the moment. And this is not an exhaustive list. This is just an example of some of the things learners could be doing online, such as learning to play a musical instrument, doing everyday life opportunities such as cooking, gardening. There's virtual museums, galleries and zoos that children could be accessing currently on the internet. So this final example here is just an example of a table that a school could use. And again, this is a whole school decision. This is not prescriptive or directive. And this gives you an example of some of the things that could potentially sit in the different areas. And again, if you would like to discuss this further with any of us, please get in touch. And if there's anything around the subject specific guidance, please encourage your practitioners to contact our subject specialist advisors. So thank you for listening to me around this model, and I hope it could be of some use to you alongside the models you will have already established for your schools.